Hello, everybody, and Happy New Year. My name is James Sisti. I'm a professional artist, a wilderness guide, and today I just wanted to do a quick demo with you on how to draw a wolf. Wolf is one of my favorite animals. It's a beautiful and inspiring creature, and I wanted to spend a little bit of time today with not only studying the wolf, but also teach you a little bit on how I approach these types of drawing topics and how you can get started on your own drawing projects using this type of methodology. So in the comments down below, I posted a link for you to download the reference photo we'll be working with. Reference photo is right here. And I put a couple of little helpful points for you as well to remember, just in case you want to take a crack at this without the video. And I'm also going to be working with a top-down camera, as you can see here. And there we go. And the medium I'm going to be using today are these Derwent tinted charcoal pencils that I got for Christmas. So very excited. I've been enjoying playing with these. And I also have a kneaded eraser. That's what I'm going to use as well. And I'll show you why in a little bit. Another little thing you can use is a blending stick, which is essentially like a rolled up bit of paper. Don't forget your sharpener. Okay, so what I'm going to do first before anything else is I'm going to select a very neutral color here in my set of charcoals. We got some purples, we got some blues. I'm thinking about something maybe like a neutral reddish kind of a color. That might be a good background for us. Actually, you know what? I changed my mind. Blue. It's going to be blue. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we're going to just sort of make a sort of mess on the page, and I'll show you what to do with that in just a little bit. And this is going to be considered like a base coat, because normally when I'm drawing with pencil or ink, I like starting with a nice clean page. However, I've been finding that by using these types of tinted charcoals, I like having a base coat or texture down first, right? There we go. So that's how it's going to start off, just like that. And I kind of like the way it feels rough right now, so I'm not even going to worry about smudging it or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I have a nice sharp tip on my pencil here, and I'm going to begin my drawing by sizing up the proportions of the figure here. So I'm looking at my reference photo. Okay, and again, you could download that with a link down in the comments below. And I'm going to start by kind of sizing up the height, right? Since I'm going to be doing a head, I want to see how tall the head is. And then I'm going to go ahead and make two extra dots here. This is going to represent the width. So a lot of my drawings start this way, just by sizing up the height and the width, because I tell my students this. Essentially, you want to think like an architect before you start your actual drawing. You want to plan your drawing out. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to find a nice point in the reference photo here, right at the bottom. And I'm just going to go ahead and start plotting, and I'm using that word very deliberately, plotting out my proportions here using dots. And you might be curious as to why. The reason why I work and I teach my students to plan their drawings out this way is because everybody can draw a dot. So many people say, James, how am I going to draw a wolf? I can't even draw a straight line. Nothing's really relevant when you're using dots. You know, it doesn't matter how straight or crooked your lines can get. It's all about how you're perceiving your subject, right? And it's good to have a good idea about how you're going to line up your figure. Okay, so all I'm doing right now is plotting out the outline, the outer edge of my wolf. Okay, and you can see like this is the area where I think the ears should go. And don't be shy about making edits as you go. You know, I'm not really somebody who likes to spend more time erasing than drawing. So what I typically like to do is I start from the outside and I work my way in. And typically the art school method involves drawing shapes that sort of look like a sphere or a another geometrical shape that resembles the shape of the head. Just skip past all that stuff. You're going to be sitting there erasing and fiddling with your work. This way, I like to just dive in. Okay, and we're not diving in pell mell here. What we're doing is we're planning our drawing accordingly. Again, we're thinking like architects, and we're putting pencil, or in this case, charcoal, to paper. In that way, we're making sure that everything is in its right place. Okay, so I'm looking at where the eyes are going. Okay, but first, before I even get to the eyes, I'm noticing how the fur is growing on the subject, right? I want to make sure that I'm accurately portraying the figure. Okay. It's a little tricky to talk and draw at the same time, so sorry if I'm fumbling with my words. But, okay, we're getting closer and closer to the part where we're actually going to do some drawing. Okay, so this is the idea, right? Plotting out our drawing first, like architects. This is our blueprint for where our drawing is going to be. Okay, and it's actually the hardest part. We're doing the hard work first so that our drawing experience will be less stressful, more enjoyable, and more fruitful. Okay, so that's where the nose is going to be. Kind of just adding a little side note here, because I'm going to use a couple of different colors, and that's going to help us to get a pretty nice color coat on our wolf. We want to have something that feels dynamic. We want something that sort of pops off the page. So that's that's the idea behind using these charcoal pencils here. Okay. So I have the architecture down first, right? I want to also make sure that it doesn't feel like just a disembodied floating head. So I'm going to be careful also to add the fur. I don't think wolves have manes like lions do, but I guess that's the best way to describe it. I want to draw the mane of the wolf as well, so that it again doesn't just feel like it's floating in space, like it has to have an attachment to something. Even if we're not drawing the rest of the body, it's just a good consideration. Okay, so that's the mane. Okay, so now that the dots are down, we're going to go ahead and utilize our pencils in a way that we're going to be constructing this drawing, right? We're going to think like architects here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue with this particular color. It's a driftwood color. And I'm also going to make sure that I'm keeping my pencil sharp. So it's good to occasionally pause and just straighten out your tools. There we go. Because you want your tools working for you, not against you. All right. So now that I have this sort of architecture down, I can begin to draw. And I usually like finding something that is rock solid, something I know I'm not going to mess up. And typically that's the ears. Okay. So I'm going to come up here to the ears, and you're going to notice that I'm not tracing the dots that I laid down earlier. And that's okay. That's because we're thinking about these more like guidelines. And by guiding our hand, we're not subject to following the will of the dots. We're using them as a tool for our benefit. And the measurements that we did earlier are what make this an easier time for us right now. Okay, because as I'm connecting the two ears, right, this is the top of the head here, so this would be the bridge. Okay, if you want to think about it like that, to the other ear. Okay, and here it comes and just wraps around like that very nicely. Okay, cool. And it's also nice to have a crisp line when you need it, but when you want something to feel fluffy or furry, you want to leave room or space in between your marks, just like this, so that it's nice, light, and airy. Okay, just like that. And again, we're going to be coming in here with some other colors as well. Maybe just a couple of colors, because I don't want to spend too much of your time on this. There we go. We just got that first ear filled in on the right hand side, and we're going to walk our way back over. And you're going to notice a darker patch of fur. Don't make it too dark. Keep it spaced out nice and easy like that. Okay, and we're going to come back over here. Okay, and we're going to try to make it symmetrical, right? We want it to be uniform and consistent here. So I'm going to go ahead and extend that ear down a little bit so that it fits. And we're also going to make sure that the inside of the ear feels nice and furry. Okay, maybe just adjust this angle here too, because you're going to notice on the other side of the ear, there we go, the fur just kind of comes up like that, makes it a little bit darker, and then as it comes down in here, the fur whitens out again. Goes from like a darkish gray to a white or light gray. All right, so I have a nice little texture there. Don't want to make it too busy. You want to leave some room for the imagination. So keep it light. Keep a lot of that negative space from the page in there. Okay, and we'll let the imagination fill in the rest. Okay, so we're going to walk our way down from this portion of the ear. Okay, you're going to see the hair start to fan out, changes in the angle. So if it's pointing up on this side of the head, right, on the top part of the head, as it gets to the side of the head, the angle is going to change to be more horizontal. Keep it nice and loose. And then as it comes to the underneath, the underside over there, it's going to change and point downwards like that. So that's how you're going to help it to feel a little bit more three-dimensional, a little bit more realistic. You're following the shape of the body, the contour of the body. Okay. So we're not going to spend too much time on that. Okay. So now that that portion is accounted for, let's get a little bit closer. Let's get into the section where the eye is. Okay. And I'm going to say that's around here. Okay. You're also going to see, I'm just going to turn the page a little bit, that it kind of has a, if you think about it, the wolf would have a sort of eyebrow right around here, right? So that's going to be something that we don't draw directly like an eyebrow. You want to leave some white space there, but the idea is you want the fur to kind of fan out like this. And you can use smaller dashes or dots to accomplish that illusion. But note how it's traveling up and then it curves to the left. And then in the center, what you're going to do is you're going to use the same size dashes there, but you're just going to go straight. And then as you get towards the middle here, you're going to start fanning off to the right. Okay, because that's the shape of the wolf's head. And all the while, my hands are picking up all the charcoal that I laid down earlier, but you just got to make it, I guess, as neat as possible, your working space, that is, so that you don't smudge unintentionally. That's kind of what comes with the territory with charcoal. So I have a lot of respect for artists who can wield this medium and probably do it in a nice suit or tuxedo without getting anything on them. Me, on the other hand, not so much. Okay, so I'm just going ahead and drawing the fur in the direction in which it's growing. That's a really big thing. And I'm also leaving a lot of room here. As you can see, I'm leaving a lot of room there so that we can have a more airy light effect, if that makes sense. And then up here, you're going to see the hair start to flare out a little bit, just like that. Same thing up here, just kind of flare out a little bit. Okay. Here's where the first eye is going to go. And I'm going to also make sure that I'm careful enough to capture that eyebrow first. Then I can get in there with the eye. Because if you think about it, the eye is a socket. Right? It's a spherical object that fits inside of a socket. So you want to capture that first, the socket that is, before you go and start playing with the eyes too much. Alrighty. And then on this side, there's a little bit more white space, but there is a little hollow here that you can see. It's a little bit, I'll be honest, it's a lot easier for me to do this in pencil than it is with the charcoal. I'm actually having a little bit of trouble here. But all in all, playing by the rules, we're still on track. Okay, so here are the eyes. I'm definitely going to need to sharpen my pencil. Like, this is way too dull for me. Like, I need it to be super crisp and sharp. My only criticism about these pencils, I mean, I love the color, I love the way the material draws. It's just like sharpening them is a little tough. It's almost as if the wood of the pencil is kind of dried out and cracked, as you can see. But yeah, I have a little bit of difficulty sharpening these pencils. That's like the only the only beef I have with them. Okay, so I'm gonna get in there with that really sharp point now, because that's where I'm gonna do my most detailed work, is with that. So I'm gonna come into the eye a little bit better there. And I'm gonna make sure that I can get that outline a little bit. Again, I have a much better time doing this with pencil. But here to learn, just like you. Okay. You know, I'm having trouble when I stop talking. Actually, I'm just concentrating. All right. So here is where the snout begins. And you can see how we can determine that it's the snout. And again, you're following the way the fur is growing. So if you look at the top of the snout here, we have, and you could use some dots for this to kind of plot that out a little, get that texture there. That's kind of like the flat surface, right? The flat part. And then what you're going to notice is as it comes down onto the side, the fur again is going to follow that contour. Same thing on this side here. Okay. Great. And that's the top of the snout. Okay, and I have the nose here. And I'm going to be very careful not to go too dark with that right away, because there are some opportunities to use some blues and some lighter tones to really help to make that feel just right. Yeah. Kind of looks a little cartoonish right now. I'm not really a big fan of how this is coming out. I think it would be better if I used a bigger piece of paper for this one, because I'm just not able to get that point that I like to work with, that super sharp point, kind of like you would get on the tip of a mechanical pencil. That's better for when you're drawing smaller on smaller dimensions. But for this type of edge, like I'm not able to sharpen the pencil so well. And that's a problem for me because I like having precision. Okay. So here's where we're going to see the muzzle end, and it's going to wrap around. You have that lip here, kind of tucks in there and begins that bottom jaw portion. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and slowly build that up. Yeah. I've had better drawings. So if you're starting to get frustrated, one thing you could do to kind of offset that is just to take it with a grain of salt. You think about it like, okay, this is a learning experience. Not every drawing has to be totally perfect. That's fine. I guess don't make a YouTube video about it if you're not gonna throw out a banging drawing, but that's fine. Yeah. It's a bummer. I really wanted to get some really nice edges with this, but it's just I can't get. Let me show you a comparison here. If I grab a piece of scrap paper on the side. Okay, so keep this cartoon looking thing in your mind. I'm gonna go ahead and grab just a regular piece of paper here. I'm just gonna grab a regular mechanical pencil. Now, I'm just gonna go right down the middle. Okay, so there's the outline there. Here's another outline here. This is where the eye would go. The eye would probably be like right in here somewhere, a little bit smaller. That almond-shaped eye. Beautiful, beautiful eye. At this point, I'm just going through the motions and figuring out where everything should be, as opposed to my other way around. That was counterintuitive. Here's where the outer side of the mouth is, and that upturned sort of smile. Okay, that makes sense. That makes much more sense. Okay. Feeling better about that. That's more like it. Okay. I was rushing too quick. Okay. So now that we're done with that dumpster fire, there we go. That's what happens when I don't take my own advice. There we go. Think like the architect, not like the artist. When you're done with the planning, then you can start drawing. That's the idea. That's the ticket. I feel a lot better now. There we go. There we go. Okay, so on the inside of the ear here, it's going to be a little bit darker. Okay, but I still want it to feel furry, so I'm just not going to go in there with my pencil and shade it in. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep overlapping the way in which the tips of the fur are in the ear, because the ear is like a cave, and the fur is sort of blocking the entrance to the cave, if that makes sense. So I don't want it to feel like it's just closed and nothing's going on in there. Okay. Okay, so that feels good. Nice and light and airy. You want to leave room for the imagination. Keep it nice and light, just like that. That feels like fur to me. Whereas this, it is what it is. Just like that. Go add some dots in there. Add some fur. It comes down like that. And for the outer side, like I used a solid line here. If you want it to feel more furry, don't do what I did with the solid line. Go ahead and you want to create natural borders with the fur like this. You want to follow the contour of the fur. Like here's an example. If I were to remove that line, I'm going to remove these lines as well. Okay. You just build them on top of each other like layers. So see how that works instead? You have a fluffier, furrier looking wolf than if you were to just go with the solid line like that. Well, that I think is a save compared to how it was going with the charcoal. Took a couple of tries there, but I think we're getting to a better place. Much better place. That's why you just stick with it. Swallow the frustration. Don't let it master you. You master it. Because if I were to succumb to the frustration I was feeling, this video would not have existed. I would have just erased it, pretended like it never happened, and would have been sulking for the rest of the night. So there you go. Yeah, I was really hoping to do a demo with the charcoal sticks. It's just that I would have had to have used a bigger piece of paper for them. You know, I'm not going to knock them entirely. I did a pretty nice landscape drawing of from our landscape drawing workshop with them, and that felt great. You know, it definitely felt like more of a painting tool than it did a drawing tool, which was interesting. But this time around, not so much. Did not feel the vibes with the charcoal stick. Okay. You can also tell that the way I was drawing it, the eye should have been down a little bit more. Oops, it would help if I didn't cover the drawing with my hand. Okay. There's the pupil right there. Let's go ahead and add that little shine right on top of it. And I also like to add a little bit of texture in the eye as well. Make sure that, again, you're building that socket for the eye to fit into very nicely and cozily so that it doesn't have bug eyes. Just like that. Just build that socket in very nicely. Have that little highlight there. Got this little shadow shape here. There we go. That's better. Ah, sigh of relief. Okay. Best not to get too busy with the fur. Just enough, that's all. Okay. There we go. See, the eye is really important. It's sort of a gateway into the soul of the animal. That's really, if you can capture the eye, then you're going to have a very, very nice portrait of the animal. Even with people, I mean, eyes really, really matter because if the eyes are off, and especially if you know what the person or the animal looks like, it's just you're going to blow that up immediately. Okay. That's better. Much better. There we go. Proportion is very important too. Okay. Great. So that's, I think, it for now. Okay, and then the rest of the mane is grayer or darker. Okay, so here's the difference that I was trying to achieve. I really would have loved to have been able to get this type of line quality with the charcoal. Again, I can do that with a bigger piece of paper. This was just a smaller piece, had to make do with what I had. So not a big deal. But just the difference here is very, very obvious. Okay, so would love to give these a really great review. The only thing is I can't get the tips like I want. And again, the wood on these just sort of break very brutally. So that's a bummer. But with the other stuff I've been able to do with this, I've gotten some really great color out of them, some really great lines. So I guess I just need more practice with them. In the meantime, if you're interested in practicing with me, I have some workshops coming up on the calendar, and I will share that screen with you. Here's our wolf. Okay, so that is what we got coming up for the month of January. Okay, and this is the full schedule. We already had our nature drawing intro classes. We have a free drawing workshop this Saturday. Next week, I believe the 14th, that is a Thursday night, we're going to be doing a nature drawing class with the Dedham Library. That's a donation-based event, so we're going to be essentially donating uh, the revenue to a food pantry up in Dedham, Massachusetts. That's a good cause right there. We have a new class, anthropomorphic character design, featuring another instructor of ours, Connor Nolan, really great illustrator. And this is going to basically teach you how to make fantasy or sci-fi characters using nature as inspiration, using animals as inspiration. We have a botanical drawing class coming up. We have a hiking skills class where I'm going to be teaching you how to use a compass, and that's going to be in partnership with the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference. And then finally, we're going to end the month with a landscape drawing intro. And I'm probably going to bring out those charcoals again just for that class. Even if I can't get animals right with the charcoals, I'm going to be darn sure to keep going so that I can get better at them in the future. So thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate your patience as I struggled through that, but let that be a lesson. Don't let your emotions get the best of you and cause you to quit. Keep going, keep persevering, use it as a learning experience, and don't forget to share what you learn with others. So thank you so much and have a good evening.